Welcome to Bad Table Talk. I'm your host, Oliver Niehaus, and this is where we break down all of the current news and talk about everything you aren't supposed to talk about at the dinner table, that being politics, religion, money, and more. My goal with this series is to provide easy-to-listen, informative segments, addressing the most pressing issues we face, and to pretend like I know what I'm talking about. As always, thanks go out to my friend Oscar Gregg for providing the music you hear, and you should all check out his single Acrobats, which will be linked in the podcast notes below. If you enjoy what you hear, please subscribe on Apple Podcasts and leave a rating and review. And feel free to also share your thoughts with me via email, which is linked below as well. So sit back and relax while I talk about how utterly fucked we are as a country. I'm totally kidding. Sort of. All joking aside, regardless of where you stand politically, I hope everyone is motivated by what they hear to research more about these issues and feels ready to contribute to making our nation a better place for everyone. Thank you, and please enjoy. Hello everyone, thank you for listening to Bad Table Talk. I just wanted to preface this with this next episode is something a little bit less traditional and not something I've tried before. This is basically the audio from a response video I made to Charlie Kirk, who made a video responding to the entire Breonna Taylor situation. I was sent that video by multiple people, as I'll explain in a second, but I just thought it would be interesting to record my thoughts and kind of just discuss point by point everything he's saying. And it was originally in video form. You can find that video form both on my YouTube channel as well as my Instagram, which will be linked in the podcast notes below. But other than that, hope you guys enjoy this segment. I apologize if some of it gets confusing because there were some video elements in which I referenced a document, but I just thought for those of you who enjoy listening to it in podcast form, it's fairly simple. You'll hear his voice and then you'll hear me respond to it. So I hope you guys enjoy this. It was very enjoyable to make and listen to. And yeah, I hope you all enjoy this, and thank you for listening. So hello everyone. I haven't really formally given my extensive thoughts on the Breonna Taylor situation in general, but I thought an interesting way to do it, and I've been requested by multiple people to give my take in a response. Multiple people have sent me this video. Apparently it's been going around. It's by Charlie Kirk. If you don't know who Charlie Kirk is, good. You don't need to listen to him. He's basically perpetuating things that are completely not true. So we're going to go through that. I have not watched this video. I tend to like to respond to things as I see them and not like way before or something like that, or like watch the video ahead of time, because I feel it takes away some of the, some of the, I guess, authenticity of my response and like how I may view a situation. So I guess in that regard, you guys will be watching along with me to see how this ends up being. I usually like to also give my predictions before this necessarily ends up going down, of what I think, especially Charlie Kirk in particular, is going to bring up surrounding this. I think he's probably going to bring up the fact, something involving the drugs, and try to hinge Breonna Taylor's boyfriend, Glover, as somehow being in relation with Breonna Taylor. And I think also he's going to try to make the claim that somehow the police officers had a right to go into their apartment, despite the fact that they had arrested Glover, the person they were looking for originally, right away in that situation. So let's take a look at the situation involving Charlie Kirk and what he has to say about this. So this should be interesting. So let's drag this down and let's take a listen. I will pause periodically, obviously, probably pretty frequently, and we can hear what he has to say. So off we go. All right. Sorry, guys. Still getting used to this.
Hey, everybody. I have no patience for the lies that are being told.
Me either.
About
by
this
people
Breonna
like you.
Taylor incident in Louisville. There now are anarchists, BLM Incorporated, and Democrats that are marching in the streets trying to advocate for justice for Breonna Taylor. Senator
Correct,
Harris,
yes.
who will never become vice president of the United
Why?
States, says her family deserves justice. Well, let's actually go over the...
Well, why do you think Kamala Harris might not become vice president of the United States? Do you think it might possibly be the fact that Donald Trump is literally saying that he will not accept the results of the election if he doesn't win, and is basically signaling to alt-right groups to basically start a coup if he doesn't win, and that this election must be fraud if he loses? The first time we've seen, he went on tape and in a press conference literally said that that he will win if mail-in ballots aren't counted, literally saying that he wants to suppress the votes of American citizens in order to win the election. So there's that, if nothing else, of the situation. So let's hear what else he has to say on this.
Facts of the case.
Oh, facts of the case. All right.
So, as background, there is an individual that was by the name of Jamarcus Glover.
Correct.
This was Breonna Taylor's ex-boyfriend. She was knee-deep
All right.
in crime.
First slide, Charlie Kirk. You talk about him being knee-deep in crime. Completely false. Let's take a look at it. I just recently bookmarked a page on this because I was doing some research, so let's take a look. Something about Breonna Taylor being involved in crime. Oh, shoot. That's going to mess that up. Ugh. This is how you know I'm doing it first time. It's because I sometimes make mistakes like this. So we're going to just play this and go to the part.
There now are anarchists about this Breonna Taylor incident in Louisville.
So let's just watch
there
what he's
now
saying
are
here.
Anarchists, BLM Incorporated, and Democrats that are marching in the streets trying...
Okay, I actually missed that. Interesting how he incorporated anarchists, BLM Incorporated, and Democrats. By the way, they are very different. There's a large difference between BLM and, like, anarchists. Like, they're very different. I mean, you're talking about, like, Antifa, like, they're very different people, in a sense. So the fact that he's conflating them at all is, you know, just completely disingenuous in nature. But he did make a claim in a second.
To advocate for justice for Breonna Taylor.
That's correct.
Senator Harris, who will never become vice president of the United States, says her family deserves justice. Well, let's actually go over the facts of the case.
Okay, here he goes.
So, as background, there is an individual that was by the name of Jamarcus Glover.
Correct.
This was Breonna Taylor's ex-boyfriend. She
Correct.
was knee-deep in crime with Jamarcus.
Okay, this is actually false. Breonna Taylor was not involved with Jamarcus Glover in the slightest. Let's take a look so I don't mess this up. Here we go. I just recently bookmarked this because I was taking a look at some of the facts. Courier-Journal, pretty central. All right. Let's see. So there's a bunch of different stuff here, and it's very slow because I'm also running a recording software. All right. Let's see. Okay, so Taylor was living with a drug dealer. That's kind of the claim. And let's see about this. Neither Taylor nor Kenneth Walker has any drug offenses on their record. And additionally, though Taylor and Glover once dated, this was a while back, Glover said they were no longer in touch before the death. So, and there is no evidence of Glover was living or storing anything in Breonna Taylor's apartment. So, this is completely false and unfounded that there was any sort of connection between the two whatsoever at all here. So, there's that. So, let's go back. Charlie Kirk was lying, but what's new?
Jamarcus Glover. In fact, he used Breonna Taylor's address.
Nope. No evidence for
deliveries.
that.
He
no evidence
was arrested in a no-knock warrant.
Yes.
Breonna Taylor was
Correct.
in business with her ex-boyfriend.
No, not during the time. No evidence of that. You're lying, Charlie Kirk, like usual. No evidence of that whatsoever at all. That they were not even in contact during this time. And you want to go over something? I'll see if he brings it up because I don't want to jump the gun.
So there was another warrant that was
Correct.
issued, a no-knock warrant to go arrest Breonna Taylor. Had her name on it.
Okay, this is very important. The reason it had her name on it is because they were looking for Jamarcus Glover, because they thought that she would be at the same residence because it had been reported that they were in a relationship, but it was misconstrued that they had broken up a long time ago and were not involved. Breonna Taylor actually, according to many different court documents and text messages that were recovered, said that she no longer wanted to be involved with Glover because what came to light were a lot of his entanglements with drugs and things of the sort that she did not want to be involved with. So that was a large reason she cut ties with him. So this is not true. And let's see what else he talks about.
They go to her residence and they knock.
Wait a second. Oh my god. Holy crap, that's so disingenuous. He literally skipped over the entire part where if we literally look at this document, let's see first. Let's go back up to... Here we go. Police located their main suspect, and their main suspect being Jamarcus Glover, long before they actually went to Taylor's address to get her. So let's take a look at this. There should be a thing right here. Super important. They literally cross out the 40 because basically what happened was his arrest was listed a while ago, but he was literally arrested afterwards. Basically, they already had Glover in custody when they went to get Breonna Taylor. Meaning that he was arrested after like midnight, which if we go to here, 12:15 was when they said that the warrants were carried out on Glover and they took him into custody. But what happened was, because look, he told the officers that Taylor had died while he was handcuffed outside. So Glover had already been taken in. They already took him into custody before they even had they even went to see Taylor. So there was conflicting evidence. But even if he wasn't in custody before they went into Taylor's home, they likely knew where he was. Meaning that regardless of the situation, we now know that Glover was in custody before they even went to Taylor's home, meaning that there was no reason for them to go there, because the only reason they went there was to try to find Glover, was that even if that were the case, they knew where Glover was. Therefore, there was no reason to go into Breonna's apartment. So this is completely unfounded that Kirk decides to conveniently leave out the fact that they already had Glover, the guy they were looking for, and the guy he seems to be talking about a lot, before they even went to Breonna's apartment. So let's continue on.
They knocked, even though it was a no-knock raid.
Oh, they knocked. Hey, don't. Maybe they killed someone who wasn't a threat, and neither of the people they were going for, but hey, at least they knocked before they killed them. Like, dude, you're so dense. Like, no, not at all. Like, that is not relevant in the slightest to this entire situation.
So they go into her home because there was no answer after they knocked, and the police were shot at by her new boyfriend,
all right.
Criminal thug.
Called it. He described Kenneth Walker as a criminal. This is like not even. This is unfounded completely. Let's go back down as we talked about before. All right, neither Taylor nor Kenneth Walker had any drug offenses on their record. Now, do I know for certain that Kenneth Walker did not have any charges on his record other than this? No. But are any of them relevant? No. None of them are relevant other than the situation at hand. And the situation at hand was whether or not Breonna Taylor and Kenneth Walker were involved in the drug scheme that they were looking for. And the answer is undeniably no. One, because we know that because they searched the entire apartment after they killed Breonna and left her lying there, giving her no medical attention for 5 minutes until she died. But other than that, there was no drugs found in the apartment. And you know we would know about it if there were drugs found in that apartment, considering that Floyd had 19 nanograms per milliliter of meth in his system. And we knew about it, which is such a small amount. So, we would know if there were drugs in that apartment, and there was not. So, Kenneth Walker, Kirk describes him as a criminal and a thug. For all intents and purposes, that's wholeheartedly irrelevant unless he was involved in the drug scheme they were going for, which he was not. Neither Taylor nor Kenneth Walker had drug offenses on their record. Therefore, this had nothing to do with that. So, Kirk is lying again, trying to equivocate the fact that he must be a criminal, because that's what they decided to do.
Kenneth Walker started to shoot at the police and shot.
Yes, correct. So it's almost like when someone breaks into your home at 1 a.m, you might be inclined to shoot them. Aren't these the same people who advocate for the fact that, like, you can shoot someone if they step on your property, but, like, you can't shoot someone if they literally break into your house in plain clothing without announcing who they are, by the way? They did not announce that they were police officers by multiple witness accounts. They literally just banged on the door and barged in and then were shot. By every metric, this is literally just an intruder coming into your home. How should he have known that they were police? They didn't announce themselves and they barged in. Walker had every single right to shoot them. And the fact that conservatives are disagreeing only proves that this is inherently racially motivated. Because if this dude was white, they would have had no problem with him firing, especially when the cops didn't even identify themselves. So this is absolutely ridiculous that Kirk is trying to make this claim on any sort of level.
Sergeant Mattingly in the leg. Unfortunately and tragically, Breonna Taylor.
She was murdered. Don't say Breonna Taylor got caught in the. Listen to me.
Taylor got caught in the crossfire.
Got caught in the crossfire. She was murdered. She was murdered because the cops were somewhere they weren't supposed to be. Once you have the person in custody you're looking for, your warrant becomes void. Why would you go into a house to find someone who you didn't even have a warrant to find? The reason they had Taylor's name was because Taylor was linked to Glover. And if they already have Glover, they already have their final suspect, then they don't need to go into Taylor's house when they already have what they're looking for. So there was no point and no reason for them to go into her house.
She was not in her bed, however. She was standing.
Oh, good job, Charlie Kirk. Observation of the year, irrelevant point. It doesn't matter. In her bed or standing up, that doesn't mean she should have been shot. Like, I don't see how that's relevant whatsoever at all. Yeah, it makes sense. Her house was literally broken into, and she got out of bed. Like, congrats. Ugh, it's so weird these people choose to bring up.
In the hallway. And so, after this, the police return fire back and forth, and Breonna Taylor
passes away. Oh my god. Holy crap, you literally can't say they killed her. You literally can't say it. Like, it's not even in your vocabulary to give the humanity to an African-American woman who was just murdered. You can't imagine it. Because she must have done something, or there must have been something to justify her death. Because you can't imagine, in any case, an African-American being unjustly killed, because you believe that if African-Americans die, there must have been something that happened. Because you have a predetermined outcome in your head. The outcome in your head is, this woman was killed and it was justified, and I will jump through every possible hoop to prove that it's justified, even if it's her just literally being in her own home. That's how disgusting this is. And this is why there will never be a shooting of a black person that conservatives will ever find unjustified. That they won't. Because if this was not unjustified, then nothing is. I swear. Like, there could be someone on the ground with their hands above their head and they could fire 12 bullets into their head, and you guys would find that the dude had a speeding ticket back in 2012 and that somehow justifies this shit. Is that hyperbole? Barely hyperbole. Honestly, at this point, you guys grasp for straws on anything. Like, I don't know what, like, I don't know if Charlie Kirk has ever addressed the Jacob Blake situation. I never saw a video. I know, surprising. I don't actually go to Charlie Kirk for my information. But I would not be surprised if he, like, starts going into the whole sexual assault thing with Jacob Blake, as if that is relevant to the fact that the dude was literally shot 7 times in the back as he was walking away from police officers. But I digress. Like, I can't believe, like, this is just disgusting.
Passes away. That's not an outcome that I think anyone would defend.
Oh, wait, so that's not an outcome I would defend. However, I wouldn't defend it, but I'm not racist. But yeah, sounds pretty familiar, my guy. Like, I'm sorry, like, you are completely just defending this, even if you say you're not.
However, this was not as if they walked into a random apartment.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. The reason it becomes a random apartment is because they already had the person they needed in custody. It becomes a random apartment when you find what you need to find. If you don't go into an apartment looking for something that you already have. There was no reason for them to go into Breonna Taylor's apartment, because they already had Glover, who was the reason they got the warrant in the first place, was because they thought Taylor and Glover were related, even though they already had Glover. So there was no reason to do it. So, yes, at this point it was a random apartment, and they went in there without a probable reason, because they already had Glover.
Apartment, or the police strolled up to a random person on the side of the street, execution style.
Yeah, it's not like they just, like, went into someone's house, like, you know, without, like, identifying themselves and, like, you know, just, like, murdered someone. Definitely. Oh, that's kind of what happened. Oh. Like, they kind of did that. But, by the way, even if it was street execution style, you'd probably say, but, like, were his hands in the right place? Like, I mean, if he didn't comply, he deserves to die. Like, I swear, that should be, like, conservatives' next motto. Like, don't comply, deserve to die, or some shit. Because I swear, their whole argument is, like, just comply with cops. As if every single interaction with cops should be a deadly game of Simon Says where one mistake ends your life. Like, I swear I don't understand where this comes from.
And decided to kill this individual. Breonna Taylor was dating a criminal, Kenneth Walker.
It's just, okay, there are two things here, and I haven't done extensive research into Kenneth Walker to know his previous criminal record, but neither are relevant. Neither are relevant at all. One has to do with the fact, one, this is a complete and blatant lie, that this had anything to do with drugs, because it already said that Kenneth Walker and Breonna Taylor were not implicated within the drug situation. Could Kenneth Walker have a previous crime? Sure. He could have raped a 14-year-old girl for all I care. Obviously it would be terrible, and I'm not saying that's justified. What I'm saying is none of it is relevant to this situation right here. And this situation dictates that you can't just go into someone's house when you already have the person in which the warrant was designed to help you get. So, Him being a criminal is irrelevant. He's only bringing it up to try to minimize the impact of the fact Breonna Taylor was dating a criminal. Interesting how he never, mentions anything else about Breonna Taylor other than she seems to be this terrible human being, which could not be more false. She was, an aspiring EMT. But what do you expect? It's Charlie Kirk.
Who decided to shoot at the police.
Yeah, because literally someone broke into his house in literally 1 a.m. And he didn't know who he was. For all intensive purposes, they could have been people coming to murder them. Oh, wait, they were. Oops, my bad. But yeah, at that point, you're literally defending your house. I don't know how you deny that. They didn't announce who they were, and they literally already had Glover in custody, so there was no reason for them to do a no-knock raid. I swear, they were bored and just were why don't we just go terrorize black people? I swear, that's literally what they were probably doing or some shit, because it makes absolutely no sense why they would do it otherwise. So, whatever.
And so the grand jury poured over this information. People are outraged. They say they're only tried with reckless endangerment. That's probably
Yes, reckless endangerment, not even of Breonna Taylor. It wasn't reckless endangerment of her life. It was reckless endangerment of the neighbors next door. Think about that. They didn't even charge them for recklessly endangering and killing Breonna Taylor. It was recklessly endangering the neighbors because a stray bullet hit their house. Holy crap. That's more insulting than not even pressing charges. When you're we don't really care about the fact that a black woman was just killed. We care more about the neighbors who could have been affected. If you ever doubt the legitimacy of Black Lives Matter, just know that the court ruled that shooting errantly and hitting a wall is a felony, but apparently shooting errantly and killing a black woman is not. That's how you know that black lives do not matter to our judicial system. So it's a correct indictment. Interesting. I bet he's going to try to say the officers shouldn't even be charged later in the video, because that's sounds like something he would do and just contradict himself, but we'll see.
Correct indictment for one of the police officers for endangering some of the other individuals in apartments that...
Holy shit. Endangering some of the other individuals in the apartment, but not Breonna Taylor, who literally died. This is literally how you know he doesn't give a shit. He does not give a shit about Breonna Taylor. He doesn't even mention the fact that she was killed. Endangering some of the other individuals by shooting, but somehow Taylor should not be included in those who actually died? Holy crap, you're dense. Oh my god.
Were adjacent. However, do you think for a second if there was evidence for this grand jury to proceed with a murder indictment that they wouldn't have done that?
Yes, they wouldn't. You know why? Because there is implicit bias within juries at every single level that causes them to disproportionately charge and disproportionately exonerate white individuals while charging African-American individuals. You want proof on this? Let's go to the ultimate research document. This is linked in my Linktree bio if you're interested. Ultimate research document. Let's take a look at this. Alright, institutional racism. We'll go to juries. Here we go. Alright. Much of the sentencing disparity comes from between black and white males, come down to judicial discretion, and then when we look at implicit bias and things of that sort, let's look at even just jury selection. State prosecutors struck down around 53% of black people for eligible with juries in criminal cases, opposed to 26% of white people, meaning there are more white people on the jury than African Americans. It's interesting because your jury is supposed to be a jury of your peers, but when no one or very few people are of your same skin color and have similar experiences to you, then how does that make sense? And then the study's authors testified in court, they testified the odds of this taking place without racism is 1 in 10 trillion. It is impossible that this was not racism. So let's take a look at this. And there's another really important thing involving jury bias. Why just to say, oh my God, they wouldn't have charged him if there had been evidence? No, not at all. Because in this study, so this is two groups of mock jurors were given a collection of race-neutral evidence from an armed robbery. However, one's alleged perpetrator was light-skinned and the other was dark-skinned, or shown to be. And jurors were significantly more likely to evaluate the race-neutral evidence against the dark-skinned as incriminating, and more likely to find the dark suspect guilty compared to the white suspect who they were more likely to find innocent. That is, you literally can't argue with that. Because that is so controlled, there's no other compounding variables. It was a complete, experiment. So I don't know how you try to argue with the fact that there is clear racial bias within our jury selection. So to say that, oh my god, how is it possible that a grand jury wouldn't have charged them? I don't know, baby, because juries are fucking racist. Like, congrats. Charlie Kirk is, oh my god. Alright, let's keep watching this. This is hurting my brain.
You see, this grand jury was under such public pressure to go and proceed with that sort of indictment for murder, and they didn't because the facts did not warrant.
Oh, maybe the facts warranted it, but the fact of the matter is the jury had implicit bias, and also the police officers have things like qualified immunity, which protect them from actually being, held accountable for their actions, as if, so they can just kill people if they feel like it. But yeah, no. The facts absolutely warranted it. But they chose not to charge because they felt as if they either, clearly the jury bias selection put way more white people on that jury than black people, or they just chose to not adhere to the facts of the case due to the inherent implicit bias. So I think just to point to, you can't point to a broken justice system and be like, look, but it would have worked. It's like, no, the system, and I've said this before, the system is not broken. The system is designed to work exactly how, it is designed to create these outcomes. And that's the problem.
So before you continue to wear Breonna Taylor's name on your helmet, or you have a shirt that says Breonna Taylor, know the fact.
Yeah, I do know the facts of the case. And Breonna Taylor was murdered in her own home. That's what happened. So that's why these people wear them. Because a lot of these people, a lot of these players are African American, and this could happen to them. So absolutely, Charlie Kirk, get off your fucking privileged white boy ass and think about other people's experiences. Like, seriously, I don't understand how you literally sit here on your pedestal and, invalidate the experiences of African American people. Oh, this isn't full screen. African American people, while literally just denying the existence of any sort of oppression. It is mind-blowing how he sits here and does this. And people just buy it because they don't want to feel bad for being white. And you shouldn't feel bad for being white, but you have to understand the implications that come with having white skin. And it's the fact that we will not have to deal with shit like this the same way African Americans do. But that does not mean that we are not called to stand up and speak for and help these people who are being disproportionately impacted by this system. That is what this is about. You don't have to be personally affected by a situation in order to fight for what's right. It's that simple. So I do know the facts of the case, and that is why I absolutely support Black Lives Matter, and this is absolutely why Breonna Taylor's killing was completely unjustified.
Facts of the case, that she was involved in a drug.
He's lying his ass off. He's literally just lying, but no one cares because no one fact checks him, because the people who are watching this get their information from him. You literally think he's the word of God if you watch Charlie Kirk. If you watch Charlie Kirk and actually fact check what he's saying, or even Ben Shapiro, it's a little more difficult because he speaks a mile a minute, so trying to fact check him, he's already on to a whole different topic by the time you want to correct him on something. His strategy is basically to spew out so much bullshit that you can't actually debunk all of the bullshit, so he eventually gets away with saying something outlandish because you never get to it because he's already so far ahead. With Charlie Kirk, no, he literally just says it. He's wrong. She wasn't involved in a drug trafficking criminal scheme. And nobody fact checks him because no one cares. It's literally Charlie Kirk and Donald Trump both literally just get away with fucking lying to people. I mean, what was it? One of the organizations associated with Turning Point USA, it was Students for Trump, literally is facing serious legal trouble for promoting debunked coronavirus conspiracies or coronavirus treatments or something to help the country before election day to get Donald Trump reelected. This is not a good organization at all for being Turning Point USA. So there's that.
Drug trafficking criminal scheme.
It's just wrong.
That she was dating a.
It's interesting how you say attempted cop killer, and not a man who's defending his house from literal intruders in the middle of the night who didn't identify themselves and had no reason being there after they had captured Jamarcus Glover. Literally, this is so racially charged, and if it was the opposite way around, you would literally not be saying these things that you're saying right now. So I don't even know what you're talking about.
attempted cop killer, Kenneth Walker.
Oh my God.
And her ex-boyfriend was Jamarcus Glover.
How is
not exactly
that
involved
relevant?
with the best people in
Oh, really? Why? Because they're fucking black? Like, you fucking piece of shit. Yeah, Glover was probably a bad person. He probably was selling a ton of drugs. Like, that's cool. That's proven. That doesn't have any relevance to Breonna or Walker, both of whom have no relation to drug crimes or Glover in any sort of sense right there. So, clear racism right there. Charlie Kirk trying to say they're not the best people and assuming that Walker and Taylor were involved despite that not being the case whatsoever at all.
Society. This is the same as Jacob Blake.
Oh, he did it. He brought up Jacob Blake. This is going to be fun. Here we go. Let me guess he's going to bring up something about sexual assault. I'm calling it right now. Something about him being a rapist, despite the fact that Donald Trump and Brett Kavanaugh both have way more allegations, but he doesn't give a shit because they're white. And powerful, rich, white men always get away with shit. Guarantee he's going to bring it up. Guarantee it. If he doesn't bring it up, then, I don't know. He's I guess, a little bit less idiotic, but I swear he's going to bring it up. Like,
oh, we must remember Jacob Blake, really? Yeah. Jacob Blake.
Called it.
Jacob Blake was accused of being a rapist.
Yeah, okay, why are you bringing that up? Wait, why would you bring that up? Believe all women? Oh, okay. So why would you bring that up? Why would you bring that up? If you don't think it's true and has to be proven in a court of law, why would you bring it up? Because under that logic, Brett Kavanaugh and Donald Trump would both be rapists if you were trying to use that against Jacob Blake. It is completely ridiculous how that is even relevant, though. How is him being a rapist relevant? How is him and his previous crimes have any relevance to him being shot 7 times in the back? The answer is it doesn't. And there is no relevance to the situation whatsoever at all. And the fact that he's bringing it up just proves that there is clear racial bias Charlie Kirk has against African Americans as being more criminal.
Believe all women. So before we start to create these nationwide emotive, quasi-pathological campaigns around unjust police killings, Breonna Taylor would still be alive.
Breonna Taylor would be alive if she wasn't murdered. Don't go on your whole tangent of if. The student wouldn't have been killed in the school shooting, or the student would still be alive if they hadn't gone to school. That's what you sound like. That's literally what you sound like right now. If they weren't there, they wouldn't have died. How about if the police hadn't killed her, she wouldn't have died? Like, you are so fucking dense.
If her boyfriend and her lover, Kenneth Walker, didn't try to...
Or defend his home. Like, I don't even understand this. Someone barges into your house at 1 a.m. You don't have a right to protect your house? Because I thought that's what you guys stand for. But apparently when African Americans use their right to self-defense, it's clearly not taken the same way. So I don't know what you're talking about.
...to kill a police officer. Now, I'm not defending the fact that Breonna...
Yes, you are. You've been doing that the entire fucking video because you wouldn't be making this video otherwise. Like, literally you wouldn't be making this video.
Taylor passed away in the
crossfire. You realize how that's... even just the sentence structure of that is racially charged. Breonna Taylor passed away, as if it is an action by Breonna Taylor. No. The action was Breonna Taylor, or the cops murdered Breonna Taylor. But they don't want to use that language. They use the passive language to remove the actor, to make cops seem like they're not the ones who murdered her, which is indeed what happened.
Fire. But this idea that the police officers went out of their way to go murder Breonna...
Yeah, they kind of did because they already had Glover in custody. There was no reason for them to go into Breonna's apartment after they have the person who they were originally looking for in custody. Like, what do you not understand about this? You don't go back for something that you already found. You don't get to go into someone's house after you already found the person that you were looking for. And there were no drugs in the house. And you know that we would know if there were drugs in the house because we knew that there were 19 nanograms per milliliter of methamphetamine in George Floyd's system and everyone knew about it. Yet there were no drugs in her house, and we would know about it if there were, because they did a thorough sweep after they murdered her, and left her lying there for 5 minutes and not giving her aid. So they shot her, and then didn't give her aid. Didn't give her any sort of first response aid.
Breonna Taylor, while she was in her bed, when she was in the hallway...
Why is that relevant?
Nonsense. And the police knocked.
Oh, they knocked. Congrats. Good job. Good job. You knocked and then murdered her. Like, the fuck? You didn't even announce you were police officers.
Even though they had a no-knock warrant. Know the facts.
Yeah, I do know the facts. And I'm angry because I know the facts. That's the difference, Charlie Kirk. You don't know the facts. Or you may know the facts, but you just choose not to believe them. If you know the facts, you are angry. The thing he says, know the facts, don't get angry. If you're not angry, you're not paying attention. Therefore, if you know the facts, you should be angry because the facts are infuriating. And the fact that we value in the case because it's a felony under that judge to shoot and hit a house that someone is possibly in, but not randomly shoot and kill an African American woman. Apparently not. So don't ever question the legitimacy of Black Lives Matter when we just had a case that ruled that drywall and a building is more valuable than a black woman's life. Black lives matter, because clearly they don't within the judicial system.
Don't get angry just because the media tells you. And stand with our police officers.
Oh, there we go. Now we're getting to the Blue Lives Matter. Congrats. Like literally just just encapsulate me with your love for the cops, because you're never going to have to fear for your life. Like I won't either. Like Charlie, you're so selfish. You're so unbelievably misleading and selfish when it comes to these claims. They're just undeniably false.
The police officers acted correctly in this situation.
Oh, they did? But you literally just said that before that the officers should be charged with reckless endangerment of the citizens. Oh, wait. No, now you don't. Now you think they acted correctly. The only reason you think they acted correctly is because they killed a fucking black woman. And you don't care. That's the issue here, Charlie. And you'd probably be the same person who would defend Amber Geiger, who was sentenced to 10 years in prison, mind you, is insanely low, for literally killing an unarmed black man. She was a police officer because she walked into the wrong apartment. She walked into the wrong apartment and shot someone because she thought it was her apartment, and shot someone who was in there. And they declared it some sort of self-defense because apparently you can defend yourself in someone else's apartment. It made absolutely no sense. And this is very esque of that. This is very similar to that situation in that there were police officers going into other people's homes and killing them. Like, I don't even understand how you were trying to defend this.
And if they're going to burn down another city around...
Oh, they're going to burn down another city? Why? Why is looting and rioting happening? Like, I don't understand this. You are so easily able to understand why Kyle Rittenhouse would feel the need to defend, like, a city or a business that wasn't his and drive across state lines, but you can't understand why folks would feel compelled to burn shit to the ground after they've been systemically oppressed for centuries. Like, you are so selective in what you choose to believe and not believe.
Around this, we should not tolerate this anymore.
Yeah, we shouldn't. We should not tolerate police being able to just kill people on a whim. Absolutely not. That's the issue.
Stand the line with truth.
Yeah, I am.
Hold the line with truth, I should say. Because these people want to burn...
Who's these people? Who is these people? I'm curious who we would say is these people. We see Black Lives Matter, the entire organization. What do you mean burn this down? Do we mean end the system of capitalism that has disproportionately impacted all Americans, but in particular disproportionately impacts African Americans the most? What do you mean by burn down? Because burn down is very charged language to suggest rioting. How about dismantle a system? Dismantle a policing system. Dismantle an economic and political system. I really suggest, if you are watching this currently, you go and watch... I would suggest you listen to the whole series. It's called Actually Making America Great. It's a podcast series that I worked on with Nasser, and it talks about a bunch of different policies, and one of them, the war on drugs, was specifically designed to disproportionately impact African Americans. As John Ehrlichman said, the goal of the drug war was never about drugs. It was to disrupt black communities and vilify them every night on the evening news. Charlie Kirk is a product of the environment and the stigma that the drug war started. Vilify them nightly on the evening news so that people like Charlie Kirk can portray this sense of fear within white America that African Americans are just violent due to drugs. He reminds me of Henry Anslinger, the dude who literally founded and started the drug war due to this type of behavior.
Down our country at all costs. Breonna Taylor was involved in a criminal drug trafficking ring.
He's just lying. He is literally lying out of his fucking ass, but nobody cares because conservatives don't care about the truth. Because if they did, and by the way, I'm not talking about conservatives who, like, disavow Donald Trump. Like, congrats, good job, we're getting there. I still don't agree with you. I still think there's a long way to go. But clearly they don't. Clearly they do not care about truth. because he's literally lying and nobody cares. And no one's going to call him out for it. Or if they do, nobody cares about it.
Her ex-boyfriend was a drug trafficker.
Okay, he wasn't involved with her.
And when she passed away, her current boyfriend was a attempted cop killer.
You're literally so dense, Charlie. Holy crap. Like, if someone comes into your house, does not announce who they are in plain clothing, and knocks your door down at 1 a.m., are you telling me you do not have a right to shoot them because you don't know who the fuck they are? Like, holy crap, dude. Like, I literally thought you supported your Second Amendment right to self-defense, but apparently not when it's African Americans, not when it's black people. So this is absolutely ridiculous.
Know the facts. Free your mind. You might be a happier person.
No, that's the issue, is if you know the facts, you shouldn't be a happier person. The fact is, you know alternative facts or lies, and that's why you're a happier person, because you don't actually have to think about the problems that exist in the world, because it's easier to deny things like systemic racism, and deny things like police brutality, and deny that any of this is an issue, because it doesn't actually require you to engage in any action. It's so much easier to just deny that it exists, because you don't have to worry about it. It's so much easier, and that's what you do. You just deny it, and you make money off of radicalizing kids and teenagers into this ideology of believing that everyone is equal. Yeah, it should be that way, but guess what? It's not. And by you perpetuating that, you're only perpetuating racism. You're perpetuating this idea that African Americans who cannot make it in the world, it is at their own fault and not the fault of systemic barriers that have been in their place for centuries, and a system that was designed to do that. A drug war that was designed to do that. Jim Crow that was designed to do that. Redlining that was designed to do that. They were all designed to do it. And you're a product of that system. And you're reinforcing it, and that's the worst part. And you're taking people with you. I know so many people who idolize you, Charlie Kirk. Your words have power. Your words in particular have power. Donald Trump's words have power. But you in particular are a voice to the younger generation. And when you spew this... When you spew this fucking nonsense to these people, you're literally just perpetuating lies. Which I'm not surprised, because it pushes your agenda and makes your donors happy. But it's just sad, man. It's sad. It's sad to watch just literally our country fall apart. And you guys just blame it all on black people. And not the institutions that put them in the situation in the first place. Like, it's so reductive to think that way. I don't know. What's left in this? He's probably gonna fucking just go off on like a little like, yo, black people, it's their fault. Don't worry about it. Just keep being like conservative or some shit.
And if anyone dares try to burn down Louisville or says they will, they should be arrested and thrown in prison for at least a decade.
Interesting. Yeah, okay, that's not gonna happen. Like, literally, like, you want to arrest... Why don't you arrest people for shooting people in their homes unjustly and not maybe for, like, just saying they're gonna burn down a city? Like, yeah, that's kind of stupid, but, like, really? This is very esque of, like, arresting people for a year or putting them in jail for flag burning for a year, which Donald Trump said. So, yep, so much for that. So much for freedom of speech and freedom of expression, because clearly that doesn't matter. Alright, let's see what else he has to say. It's probably just gonna be some other bullshit.
Thanks so much. God bless you guys, and God bless our country.
Yeah, fuck you too, Charlie Kirk. Okay. Whatever. Alright, let's bring this up and listen to this. Alright, I'm exhausted, because that was just not fun to listen to. Like, it was not even productive. It didn't provide any knowledge or anything that I hadn't heard. It was literally just him spewing lies for 4 minutes that I turned into probably like 40 minutes, but... I hope you realize that it's very easy to twist facts to fit your agenda. People on both sides do it. I'm not going to deny that. But clearly here, this was how it was used to perpetuate this stereotype or this idea that somehow the murder of Breonna Taylor was justified when it absolutely wasn't in any sort of way. And they misconstrue small things to find caveats and crevices which they can poke holes and be like, hey, this could have happened, this could have not happened. So, I hope you enjoyed watching this. I hope you understand that people who think like Charlie Kirk are very dangerous. People who think like Charlie Kirk enable the autocratic and authoritarian government that we currently have under Donald Trump. Donald Trump said that he won't accept the results of an election if he loses and wants to stop votes from coming in. Like, literally, he's a threat to the shambles of our democracy that we have left. So... always my call to please get out and vote if you haven't already and register. It's important. who knows what's going to happen. Honestly, it's so uncertain, but thank you all for watching. If you have any questions or comments, put them in the comments below. And I'll be looking forward to seeing what you all have to say. So, take care, everyone.